Welcome to Game Fondue Reviews. In this video we're going to take a look at Arena, Roma II, which is a two-player card game designed by Stefan Feld set in ancient Roman times, and you're essentially just trying to survive or trying to knock the other player out as fast as possible. Let's briefly go through the rules, see a few example turns being played, and then I'll be back for some closing remarks. This is the setup for Arena Roma II. To set it up, you just give each player 3 dice in one color and 10 victory points. The remaining victory points and all the money forms a pool, and each player gets a hand of 5 cards. The rest forms a draw stack. Players look at those 5 cards and pick 2 of them. They actually pass to their opponent face down. To start the game, the first player just lays out his 5 cards on any of the spaces, only 1 per space, from 1 to 6 or the bribery. No cards are ever played on the money space or the draw card space. And players take turns. On a turn, there's 3 phases that must happen. The first is evaluate vacant spaces. The next is roll your dice. And the third is take actions. The game ends immediately when one player runs out of victory points or when the pool runs out of victory points, in which case the player with more victory points is the winner. So let's jump in and describe some of these phases. So the first is evaluate empty spaces. And the way you do that is you count the number of empty spaces on a player's side from 1 to 6, as well as bribery. So in the first turn of the game, it's always going to be 2. The second player may have 3 or a different number. But however many empty spaces you have, you lose that many victory points. So every turn, at the beginning of the turn, you're probably going to lose some points. That's kind of the constant struggle of the game. So the next is you roll the action dice. And if you roll all 3 of the same number, you have the option, if you'd like to re-roll them. But those dice are going to help you do actions. So for the next part of your turn is perform actions. There's 3 possible actions you can choose from in any combination, and you do the dice to do them. The first is to take money. So for whatever die you put on the money space, you can put all 3 if you'd like to. You take that many dollars. So, or seteri, I believe they're called. So this would give me 2. This would give me 6, and that would give me 1. So it's important to, decide carefully. On the other end is the draw cards. So you can go here and you can draw that many cards. However, no matter how many cards you draw, you always keep 1. So even if I draw 6 cards, I have to discard 5 of them face up. And lastly, you can use the dice to activate spaces. So for example, I could put this one on the Philosopher's to use his ability. Every card has an ability. Some cards will have an X here, which means you don't put any dice on them. And there are other cards, like this Forum, that actually require 2 dice. So I'd have to put the 6 because it's on space 6, and then the 2 because it needs a second dice to use its effect. The only exception to being able to do whatever you want, so normally if you rolled 3 ones, you could use this space 3 times. The only exception is this bribery space, in which you can only do once per turn. The catch with the bribery space is you must pay the amount of dice you use to activate it. So if I used this 1 here to activate this, I would have to pay 1 money in order to do so. And it would still cost a second dice normal. But I can't use it for a second time, even if I can pay the cost. There's another thing you can do in your turn that is an action in a sense, but it doesn't require any of your 3 actions. You can do it as many or as few times as you want, and that's play cards. Now every card has a cost on it up here, so if I wanted to play this card, I would have to pay 6 money and play it on the board, because that's a cost 6. This would be 5. This one's free, and so on. And it just goes on your side of the board. If you ever play a card on top of another card, maybe you're out of space, or for some reason you just really want to be in a particular space, you just discard that card. That's perfectly okay. And a lot of cards in this game cause you to battle with your opponent. This is actually one of them. And when you battle, you roll the dice, and depending who you're attacking, it's going to tell you, who you attack. If you attack a character card, which are yellow, or a building card, which are green, or if you're attacking somebody across from you or what have you, you roll this dice, and you defeat them if you match or exceed their defense value. This guy's defense is very low at 2, but some of these buildings are very strong. They're up there at 5, so they're a little harder to take down. And when a building's destroyed, it just gets thrown in the discard pile. That's really all there is to the game. Just keep in mind that when somebody's victory points run out or the pool runs out, the game's over. Let's get going with our playthrough. So each player's got a hand of 5 cards. Of course, that would be for their eyes only, but we're just putting it up so everybody can see. So each player picks 2 cards to pass over to their opponent face down, and their opponent looks at them. We're going to have this guy go first, so he's just going to lay his different stuff out on the board. So he's going to throw this down here, this over here, and then now this player does the same thing. So he actually gets to see where the other guy goes. And note, this is a card that's always in effect. it doesn't have any cost associated with it. So he's going to put that down there. So it's the first player's turn, and the first thing you do is evaluate vacant spaces, so we know he loses 2 points because there's 2 empty spaces. The next thing he does is roll the dice. So he got a 1, 1, and a 6. That's actually a pretty good roll for what he has. He's going to use this 1 to activate his forum, and the forum gives you as many points as the next die you put on it. So he's going to get 6 points, which is a pretty good start for him. He's really happy about that. And he's going to use the last die to draw 1 card, which he keeps in his hand. The other player's turn, he evaluates his empty spaces, so he loses 2 points, and then he rolls his dice. So he's got, whoa, some real big numbers. Because every time he takes money, he gets 2 extra sateri, he's going to first take 8 money. He's feeling pretty happy about that. He's thinking he might even want some more money, but next thing he's going to do is he's going to draw 5 cards. Remember, he only gets to keep 1 of them, but the others will be discarded. So for 5, he decides he'd really like to have this military guy here. So he discards the rest face up, and then he decides he's going to take 8 more money. Now, even though he's used his 3 actions, playing people doesn't cost any actions, just cost the money. So he's going to lay this guy out for 5. Welcome back. The game is getting to a close. This player has 3 cards in his hand and a lot of money. This guy has a lot of empty spaces, but it's been using this to remove victory points from the game, so there's only 1 left in the pool. However, he does lose 3 points here for having lots of empty spaces because the other guy's attacking him a lot. Wow, and I actually rolled 3 4s and have the option to re-roll them, which I'm going to do. So for 1, he's going to take 6 points, and that's going to be more than's left. 2 4, he does get the extra point. So the game is definitely over. Okay, so now the player with the most points is the winner, which is going to be this guy. 2 4 6 8 10 12 14 16 18 20 against 6 8 10 12. So even though this guy was getting beat up a lot, he managed to get it together with the forums. I've gotten some very confused expressions when telling people this is a Stefan Feld game because there is no point salad to be found anywhere. In fact, there's very few specific cards that give you points. Most of the rest of the deck does not, or is just attack cards, which tends to make for really hyper-aggressive games, which I enjoy quite a bit. I've also found people who don't enjoy conflict in games so much don't seem upset by it or to take it personally in this game because there are just so many cards and you can rebuild your stuff very quickly. It's really the whole struggle of the game is just surviving or trying to take down the other player. Most of my games tend to end by somebody running out of points, but as you saw in the video, it's certainly possible to win another way, and people can use their own strategies as they please. There's some obvious comparisons to be made between this and Roma, which essentially came before it, as this is Roma II, which by the way is really cool. I like sequels in games. But if you're going to start, I'd recommend this one just because there's a few more things and I find it a little more balanced. But functionally, they're both the same game, so check out whichever one you'd like. But if you enjoy fast-paced and some aggression in 2-player games, I strongly recommend you check this out. This is definitely an underappreciated game. That's Arena, Roma II. Thanks for watching.